My mother looked at me across the dining room table with soft, shining eyes and said they could only afford one extra seat on the cruise. My sister was going. I was supposed to be proud of my maturity. They had no idea that while they were packing swimsuits, sandals, and sunscreen, I was about to pack up the whole house, receipt by receipt. That Saturday morning started with sunlight sliding through the blinds in long gold stripes, making my parents' dining room look warmer than it felt. The house smelled like coffee and cinnamon rolls, which should have made me suspicious before my mother ever opened her mouth. Nia Brooks only warmed cinnamon rolls on ordinary mornings when she wanted the family to feel grateful before she asked for something unfair. My father, Walter, sat at the head of the table with his mug between both hands. He had been moving slower since his heart scare in March, and my mother used that scare the way some people used prayer beads, touching it whenever she needed the room to go quiet. My younger sister Talia sat beside him in a coral tracksuit, phone face up by her plate, nails tapping the screen every few seconds. I was 34, dressed for errands, still wearing the black slacks I used for work because I had planned to stop by the dry cleaner after breakfast. I thought I had been invited over to discuss Dad's medication schedule or Mom's latest utility bill panic. Instead, my mother clasped her hands and announced, "We booked a 10-day Caribbean cruise." Her face opened like a theater curtain. She told the story with full production value. The ocean view cabin, the breakfast buffet, the spa credit, the live music, the island stops, the evening shows. She described the balcony as if she had already stood there with wind in her hair and a drink in her hand. For a moment, I forgot to guard myself. "That sounds amazing," I said, and I meant it. "After this year, you two deserve something peaceful. When do we leave?" The word we hit the table and died there. My mother's smile flickered. My father's eyes dropped to his coffee. Talia suddenly became fascinated by a notification that did not exist. I looked from one face to the next. "Am I going too?" Nobody answered quickly enough. The room changed temperature. The cinnamon smell turned heavy and sweet, almost rotten. My mother reached across the table and covered my hand with hers, which told me everything before she said a word. She only touched me like that when she needed my cooperation. "Nia, baby," she said, lowering her voice into that gentle, wounded tone she used when she wanted manipulation to sound like tenderness. "You know how hard things have been. Your father's hours were cut after his leave, and he has been feeling so low. The Whitfields next door just got back from Paris, and your father has been talking about how everybody else seems to be living while he is just surviving. This cruise is not just a vacation, it is dignity." Dignity. I looked at my father. He did not look dignified. He looked like a man waiting for someone else to sell his excuse. My mother squeezed my hand. "The doctor said stress is the worst thing for him right now. He needs rest. He needs to feel capable again. And the cabin we chose is priced for 3. Adding a 4th person would push it beyond what we can manage. So there are 3 seats," I said. Talia shifted in her chair. My mother smiled sadly. "Your sister needs this too." Of course she did. Talia always needed whatever I was being asked to surrender. "The thing with Darius really broke her confidence," my mother continued. "She needs a chance to clear her head and remember who she is." Talia nodded with a solemn little expression, as if she had survived a tragedy instead of cheated on her boyfriend, cried when he left, and then gone dancing the next weekend. "You have always been the steady one," Mom said. "The strong one. The one who understands. We knew you would be mature enough not to make this harder for us." There it was, the compliment with a collar attached. My father finally cleared his throat. "It has been a tough year financially, Nia. We had to make choices." "You financed the cruise," I said before I could stop myself. His face tightened. I had seen the statement on the kitchen counter the week before while sorting their mail, because apparently their oldest daughter was also unpaid administration. The cruise had gone on a credit card with an interest rate that would eat them alive by autumn. My mother's grip sharpened. "That is not the point." "It is a little bit the point." Talia sighed. "Can you not make this weird? It is already paid for." My mother turned back to me like Talia's impatience was proof that I needed to behave. Someone has to stay here anyway. The plants need watering, the mail needs collecting. We cannot have packages sitting out, and it would help if you kept the house tidy because we will be exhausted when we get home. I stared at her. They were going on a cruise without me, and I had been assigned house-sitting duties. "You understand, right?" she asked. It was never a question in our family. It was a command, wearing perfume. I thought about the $300 I transferred when their heating bill went overdue last winter. The $500 I loaned in February after Dad's insurance copay shocked them. The groceries I bought every other week because I was already at the store. The streaming services in my name. The internet bill. The electric bill. The new tires on Mom's car that somehow became a family emergency. I thought about asking why their dignity always required my money. I thought about telling Talia to buy her own ticket with one of the paychecks she never kept long enough to budget. I thought about standing up, walking out, and letting the cinnamon rolls cool on the table. Instead, I nodded. "Of course," I heard myself say. "I understand." My mother's whole body relaxed. "You are such a good daughter." Those words used to warm me. That morning, they sounded like a lock sliding shut. If you have ever been praised for accepting less than everyone else, tell me where you are listening from tonight. I used to think being the strong one meant I could carry anything, until I realized my family kept adding weight because I never dropped it. To understand why I did not fight at that table, you need to understand the 8 years that came before it. I moved back into my parents' house at 26 after a layoff from my first serious job. It was supposed to be temporary. 3 months, maybe 6. There was no lease, no written agreement, no clean adult boundary, just a soft family understanding that I would help where I could while I got back on my feet. I got back on my feet in 4 months. I found a job as an operations coordinator at Meridian Freight Solutions, a logistics company near the port. It was not glamorous work, but I was good at it. Routing, scheduling, vendor disputes, tracking delays, solving problems before angry clients realized a shipment was in danger. I learned to see systems. I learned to find the weak point before it broke. At home, somehow, I never applied that skill to my own life. The first bill was groceries. "You eat here too," my mother said, which was fair enough. Then internet. "You work from home sometimes, so it makes sense." Then electricity. "Your laptop stays plugged in all night." Then water in the summer because my showers were apparently the reason Georgia heat existed. By the end of my first year back, I was paying $1,200 a month in rent, covering 3 utilities, buying half the groceries, and still living in the smallest bedroom because Talia needed the bigger one for her creative space. Her creative space was mostly laundry piles, half-used sketchbooks, and whatever hobby had lasted longer than 3 days. Nobody called it rent at first. They called it contribution, then help, then what adults do. Then, whenever I asked whether we should put anything in writing, my mother looked wounded and said, "Do we need paperwork between family now?" So I let it stay soft. Soft things can still trap you. Then came the furniture. The sofa collapsed one Saturday morning while Dad was watching a basketball game. A spring tore through the cushion, and my mother acted as if the house itself had betrayed her. I bought a replacement sectional, $1,200, gray because Mom said gray went with everything. The television died during playoffs. I bought a 65-inch smart TV for $800 because Dad said the smaller ones hurt his eyes. The washer started leaking. Mom cried about mold. I spent 2 weeks researching machines, then bought a washer and dryer set for $1,500 because if I was buying something, I wanted it to last. The dining table was embarrassing when guests came over, $600. The cookware was old, $400. The coffee maker was unreliable, $150. The stand mixer was absolutely necessary for my mother's holiday baking dreams, and after I paid $300 for it, she used it twice and then stored it like a trophy. There were lamps, shelves, rugs, towels, a microwave, an air purifier for the master bedroom, a vacuum cleaner, a steam mop, curtains, throw pillows, guest bedding, chairs, small repairs, delivery fees, service plans. Every purchase had a reason. Every reason sounded temporary. Over time, the house became full of my money and empty of my ownership. The sectional was not Nia's sectional, it was the living room sofa. The TV was not my television, it was Dad's TV. The dining table I had saved 3 months to buy became the family table before the delivery men drove away. I did not notice at first because I wanted to believe I was building something with them. Family, stability, a home I had earned a place inside. Meanwhile, Talia floated through life like consequences were a rumor. She went to Miami, Denver, New Orleans, New York. She left jobs because managers had bad energy. She started a boutique candle business, a travel blog, a lash certification course, a podcast about healing, and an online shop that never got past logo design. She had money for concerts and brunches and lashes and weekend trips, but never for rent. My mother defended every version of her. She is still finding herself. Talia was 29. Apparently I had found myself years ago, and myself was a payment plan with a pulse. The cruise morning came 6 days after the cinnamon roll conversation. Their driveway looked like an airport curb. Suitcases lined the walkway. My mother moved in frantic circles, checking passports, boarding passes, chargers, medication bottles, sandals, motion sickness patches, and the special sun hat she had ordered online and charged to the same card as the cruise. I stood on the porch with my arms folded, watching them load the car. "Now remember," Mom said, turning to me with her travel purse already crossed over her chest, "water the plants twice a week. The fern in the front window is delicate, so check the soil first. Bring in the mail every day. If any packages come, put them in the hall closet, and please keep the kitchen clean. I would hate to come home to a mess." "Got it," I said. Dad gave me a one-arm hug that barely touched my shoulder. "We appreciate you, kid." 34 years old, paying his utility bills, still kid when obedience was needed. Talia leaned out the passenger window. "Do not kill the fern," she called. My mother smiled at me through the windshield as Dad backed the car down the driveway. "You always understand," she said. I watched them pull away, the car rolling past the mailbox, past the oaks, past the neighbor's azaleas, until it turned the corner and disappeared. For a few seconds, I stood in the quiet. The neighborhood carried on like nothing had happened. A lawnmower growled somewhere down the street, a dog barked behind a fence, a kid laughed on a bicycle. Inside me, something clicked into place. At work, we had a term for systems that ran too hot for too long: failure point. It was not the last box that broke the conveyor belt. It was the months of ignored grinding, the loose bolts nobody tightened, the warning lights everyone taped over because production had to keep moving. My love had been the maintenance crew in that house, patching, absorbing, paying, pretending. But as I looked at the fern in the front window, that fussy, needy fern I had been ordered to manage while they sailed through turquoise water without me, I realized the crew had quit. I walked back inside and locked the door. The silence in the house was not peaceful at first. It was revealing. No television shouting from the living room, no mother narrating chores, no Talia's music bleeding through the ceiling, no father calling for someone to find his glasses while they sat on his head. Just air. For the first time in years, I could hear my own thoughts without someone else's need interrupting them. I walked through the house like an inspector. Living room first. The gray sectional, $1,200, bought with my Christmas bonus. I ran my hand along the back cushion and remembered the saleswoman telling me the fabric was durable enough for a family. I had picked gray because my mother wanted neutral. I had paid for delivery because Dad's back hurt. I had vacuumed under it every weekend because nobody else moved furniture. The TV, $800, mounted on the wall I patched after the old bracket left holes. Dad had watched it every night while telling me I worked too much. The rug, the end tables, the lamps, my money, my time, my receipts. Dining room next, the table where my mother had just told me there was no seat for me. $600, solid wood, seats 6. I almost laughed. I had bought a table with enough chairs for a family that could not find room for me on a cruise. Kitchen, coffee maker, stand mixer, cookware, microwave, food processor, plates, glasses, knife block, the storage containers my mother always lost the lids to and somehow blamed me. Laundry room, washer, dryer, service warranty still in my email, upstairs. the office desk I bought when Dad said he wanted to organize medical papers, the bookshelf in the hallway, the air purifier in my parents' room, Talia's white desk, the one she needed for her candle business and used mostly for makeup, then my own bedroom, smallest room in the house, oldest daughter, biggest bill. I sat at my desk and opened the bottom drawer. Inside was a navy folder I had kept since college. It was not sentimental, it was practical. I documented everything because logistics trained me that undocumented facts become arguments. Receipts, order confirmations, warranties, bank statements, credit card screenshots, delivery emails, serial numbers. I kept them because losing proof annoyed me. Until that day, I had never considered that proof might save me. I spread the papers across my desk: sofa, TV, washer, dryer, dining table, cookware, coffee maker, utilities, rent transfers, grocery receipts. One by one, the numbers stopped feeling like memories and became evidence. I opened my laptop and created a spreadsheet. Column A, item. Column B, purchase date. Column C, cost. Column D, room. Column E, proof. Column F, current location. My hands moved with the calm speed they had at work during a shipping crisis. There was comfort in structure. There was mercy in math. Math did not ask me to be understanding. Math did not call me selfish. Math did not ask whether my father felt small or whether my sister needed to find herself on a balcony somewhere. It simply added. The first total made me sit back. $15,743 in furniture, appliances, and household goods. That did not include rent. That did not include utilities. That did not include groceries, emergencies, tires, copays, small loans that vanished into silence. I added a second section. Rent, $1,200 a month, 96 months, $115,200. The number looked impossible on the screen. I checked the formula twice, then I checked it again. It was right.
I had paid over $115,000 to live in the smallest bedroom of a house where my mother still asked when I would settle down properly. My father tracked my location, and Talia did not wash a dish unless someone praised her for it. The cruise was not the betrayal. The cruise was the receipt that made the rest impossible to ignore. I did not need a family meeting. I had been in one long meeting for 8 years, and the agenda never changed. Nia pays, Nia understands, Nia stays. Not anymore. I opened my work contacts and searched for a name: Harborview Executive Residences. Meridian used them for relocated managers, visiting consultants, auditors, and anyone who needed furnished housing fast. I had booked units through them at least a dozen times. I knew their process. I knew their turnaround. I called the direct line instead of filling out the online form. Harborview, this is Andre. Andre, this is Nia Brooks with Meridian Freight Solutions.
I need a personal 30-day booking, immediate occupancy if possible. His voice warmed with recognition. Nia, you are usually sending me people, not calling for yourself. Today, I am the shipment. He laughed once, then heard what was under my joke and got professional. What do you need? 1 bedroom, furnished, secure building, parking, available this week? Keys clicked on his end. I have an ocean view unit opening Tuesday, fully furnished, utilities included, kitchen stocked with basics. 30 days is $2,500. I can email paperwork in 2 hours. $2,500. Expensive, almost reckless, also freedom with a door code. I had an emergency fund, rebuilt quietly after the washer and dryer purchase nearly emptied me. I had thought it was for medical disaster, job loss, a car repair, something dramatic and respectable. I did not know the emergency would be my life asking to be returned. I'll take it, I said. You sure? Very. After I hung up, I sat perfectly still. No shaking, no crying, no cinematic collapse, just clarity. People think liberation feels like lightning. Mine felt like opening a calendar. I set up mail forwarding for Tuesday. I changed my mailing address with the bank, credit cards, insurance, doctor, employer, and every account I could remember. I downloaded statements, I printed receipts, I built folders by room, I found the moving company Meridian used for office relocations and booked a 3-person crew for Tuesday at 8 in the morning. Then I bought a roll of bright yellow stickers. Sunday afternoon, I walked through the house and tagged everything I owned. The sectional, yellow, the TV, yellow, the dining table and chairs, yellow, the rug, yellow, the coffee maker, stand mixer, microwave, cookware, dishes, towels, guest bedding, vacuum, steam mop, office desk, bookshelf, Talia's white desk, yellow. The house became a strange reverse treasure hunt. Every sticker told the truth my family had blurred. Mine, mine, mine. I left anything I had not bought. Dad's old recliner with the frayed arms, Mom's brass lamp from before I was born, ceramic figurines, fake plants, the scratched dresser in the guest room, the faded curtains in the den. I was angry, but I was not stealing. On Tuesday morning, the moving truck backed into the driveway at 7:58. The sound was low and heavy, a mechanical growl in the quiet street. I stood on the porch with a clipboard and coffee from my own coffee maker, which would be leaving with me. The crew chief, a broad man named Reggie, looked past me into the house. "Everything with yellow goes?" "Everything with yellow goes." "Anything fragile?" "The TV, the mixer, and my patience." He smiled without asking questions. Professional movers know when a house is only a location. They started in the living room. The sectional was wrapped in thick blankets and tape. The TV came off the wall and went into a padded box. The rug rolled up with a soft thud. End tables disappeared. Lamps vanished. The room emptied faster than I expected. I stood in the doorway and watched 8 years of compliance being carried out in pieces. Dining room next. The table where I had been excluded from the cruise tilted through the doorway on 4 men's hands. The chairs followed. The empty space it left looked almost holy. Kitchen, boxes of cookware, dishes, utensils, small appliances. The coffee maker went into my car instead of the truck. I wanted it with me. Laundry room, washer, dryer. The movers disconnected them cleanly and rolled them out on reinforced dollies. Those 2 machines had cost me $1,500 and a week of research. My mother had cried about mold until I bought them. She had never cried about my savings afterward. Upstairs, Talia's white desk went too. For a second, I hesitated in her doorway. There were makeup stains on the surface, candle wax near one corner, a small chip where she had dropped a mirror. I had bought it because she said she was ready to get serious about her business. She had sent me 3 heart emojis when it arrived, then never paid me back because nobody had said it was a loan. I touched the yellow sticker. "Take it," I told Reggie. By noon, the house sounded different. Every footstep echoed. Dust lines marked where furniture had protected the floor. The walls looked too wide. The living room, once crowded with things my money had provided, held only Dad's old recliner and Mom's brass lamp. That recliner bothered me. It sat against the wall like a survivor of something. I walked over, gripped both arms, and dragged it toward the center of the room. The legs scraped against the floor with an ugly sound, but I kept pulling until the chair sat in the exact middle of the empty living room. Then I straightened it. A throne for the king who needed a cruise for dignity. I stepped back and looked at it. Perfect. It was not vandalism. It was punctuation. Reggie came to the door. "That is the last of it." "Good. We are heading to Harborview now. You following?" "Right behind you." I stood in the empty house 1 final minute. The fern waited in the front window. I did not water it. My best friend Simone Carter met me at Harborview with 2 iced coffees and a bag of bagels. Simone had known me since community college accounting class, where she lent me a pencil and told a professor his grading rubric made no sense. She became the first person outside my family to say the words I had been afraid to say myself. "They are using you." When she stepped into my new apartment, her mouth fell open. Nia. Floor-to-ceiling windows looked toward the water. The kitchen had granite counters and stainless steel appliances. The walls were clean. The room smelled like lemon cleaner and new possibility. "This is gorgeous," she said. "Temporary," I said. "Still yours." That word landed gently. Mine. The movers brought in the furniture, and for the first time, my things looked like they belonged to me. The gray sectional fit beneath the windows. The dining table sat near the kitchen. The TV mounted across from the sofa. The coffee maker took its place on the counter as if it had been waiting for a room that respected it. Simone helped me unpack clothes, documents, and books. She did not overtalk the moment. She let me move in silence when I needed silence and made jokes when the quiet started leaning too hard. At 3:40, my phone buzzed. "Mom." I looked at it. They were somewhere on the cruise, probably checking whether I had brought in mail or sent a photo of the fern. Simone saw the screen. "You answering?" "No." It rang until voicemail, then a text. "Did you water the fern?" I laughed. Not loud, not kindly, just enough to let the old spell crack. I turned the phone face down and unpacked another box. For the rest of the week, I settled into my life like a person learning a new language. I woke up without hearing my father's television. I made coffee without someone asking where the creamer was. I cooked dinner and left the pan soaking because nobody was there to turn it into a moral failing. I sat on the sofa and looked at the water. I slept through the night for the first time in months. Peace felt suspicious at first. My body kept waiting for a demand, a bill, a reminder, a crisis. But my phone stayed mostly quiet because they were at sea, floating through the Caribbean on a borrowed fantasy, unaware that their real support system had driven away in a moving truck. At work, I handled shipping reports with a focus that surprised even me. My manager, Malcolm Price, passed my desk on Thursday and stopped. "Brooks, you look different." "New haircut?" I offered, though my hair was the same twist-out I had worn all week. He gave me the dry look he used when vendors lied about delivery windows. "Whatever it is, keep it. Your Henderson numbers came in clean." "Thank you." I did not tell him I had just extracted my life from a hostile operating environment, but I thought he could tell I had stopped carrying invisible cargo. Sunday evening, the storm arrived. I was making tea when my phone began vibrating across the counter. Mom, Dad, Mom again, Talia, Dad, then unknown numbers. Then Simone sent a photo. It showed my parents' house from the street. Her cousin lived 3 doors down and had apparently witnessed the return. In the image, my mother stood at the open front door with her hand still on the knob. My father stood behind her, cane in one hand, suitcase in the other. Talia hovered near the porch steps, mouth open. Through the doorway, the living room looked empty. At the center sat the old recliner. My phone rang again. I let it ring. Then a notification appeared that made my stomach drop. Family location circle active. I stared at the screen. 3 years earlier, after Dad's heart scare, my mother had insisted we all turn on location sharing. "For emergencies," she said, "so we can find each other if something happens." It had never been for emergencies. It had been surveillance with a medical excuse. I had gotten so used to the little violation that I forgot to turn it off. 2 hours after they returned from the cruise, they found me. The pounding on my apartment door rattled the frame. I looked through the peephole. All 3 of them stood in the hallway. My mother in front, still wearing travel clothes, face flushed with fury. Dad behind her, tired and red-eyed. Talia leaning against the wall with her arms crossed, carrying the entitlement of a person who had never had to wonder who would fix things. "Nia!" my mother shouted. "Open this door right now. We know you are in there." She waved her phone like proof of ownership. Something cold moved through me. Not fear. Recognition. Even after I moved out, they believed access to me was automatic. I opened the door. They pushed in without being invited. My mother stopped when she saw the living room. Her eyes moved over the sectional, the TV, the dining table near the kitchen, the boxes neatly stacked by the wall. Her mouth opened. "What the hell do you think you are doing?" Dad stepped in behind her. "We trusted you to watch the house." "You tracked me to my apartment," I said. "Do not change the subject," Mom snapped. "You stripped our house." Talia looked around with disgust. This is so pathetic. I leaned one shoulder against the wall and let them talk. My mother accused me of theft, cruelty, jealousy, spite, betrayal. She said I had ruined their home. She said Dad could have had another episode when he walked in and saw what I had done. She said Talia had cried, which Talia did not confirm because she was too busy glaring at the TV she used to watch for free. My father said, "We left you in charge, Nia. We trusted you." Trusted me. The word almost made me laugh. They trusted me to maintain the house they excluded me from enjoying. Talia finally found her line. "You did this because you were mad we went on the cruise without you. Is that what you think?" "That is what it is," she said. "You could not stand that Mom and Dad picked me for once." For once. I looked at my younger sister, at the woman whose rent-free existence had been framed as fragility, whose mistakes were seasons, whose wants were needs, whose bills became mine by osmosis. "Interesting," I said. My calm made them angrier. Mom took a step closer. "You are going to bring everything back." "No." The word landed between us like a locked gate. Dad's voice rose. "You left us with nothing. I left you with what was yours. This is not over," Mom said. "You need time to think about what you have done." "I have thought about it." "Not enough." She looked around again, as if the furniture might apologize for choosing me. "We will deal with this tomorrow." Then they left in a storm of perfume, travel clothes, and injured authority. The door closed. I locked it. Then I opened my phone and removed myself from the family location circle. The little blue dot disappeared. For the first time in 3 years, my body belonged to a private map. They launched the smear campaign within 24 hours. My mother did not post details. She was too careful for that. She posted sentences shaped like heartbreak. "Sometimes the people you sacrifice for hurt you the most. Pray for parents who give everything and are repaid with cruelty. Family betrayal is a pain I would not wish on anyone." The comments filled with sad faces and vague outrage. By Tuesday, the messages started. "Aunt Charlene, your mother called me crying. I cannot believe you would steal from your own parents. Uncle Jerome, your father is not well, and this stress could send him back to the hospital. Shame on you. A cousin I had not seen since a funeral. I hope whatever you gained was worth destroying your family. A church friend. Your mother said you left them with nothing. That is not how a daughter behaves." Each message hit like a paper cut. Small, sharp, annoying because it assumed the story had already been decided. For 1 hour, I considered defending myself publicly. I imagined uploading receipts, screenshots, totals, proof. I imagined my mother's face when the comments turned. I imagined Talia reading the numbers and realizing the internet was not going to call her delicate. Then I stopped. I had spent 8 years reacting to my mother's version of events. I was done letting her set the schedule. So I waited. At work on Wednesday, Malcolm called me into his office. "Close the door." My stomach tightened. Had the family drama reached my job somehow? He pointed to the chair. "You all right, Brooks?" "Family stuff." That is the answer people give when the real answer is too long. I smiled despite myself. "It is handled." He studied me for a moment. Malcolm was a black man in his 50s with a shaved head, wire-frame glasses, and no patience for drama that did not come with a tracking number. He had managed me for 6 years. He knew my work before he knew my life. "I will not ask unless you decide to share it," he said. "But I know responsible when I see it. I know reliable. I know the person everyone calls when the system is about to fail. You have been carrying something heavier than work for a long time." My throat tightened. "Thank you." "Do not thank me for noticing facts." Then he slid a folder across his desk. "Now go fix the Henderson schedule before procurement makes me lose my mind." That was Malcolm. Validation, then a deadline. It helped. That evening, Simone came over with pizza and a bottle of red wine she said tasted expensive because the label had gold on it. She sat cross-legged on my sofa, scrolling through the posts. "Your mother is really trying to win an Oscar." "She thinks silence means I am ashamed." "Are you?" "No." "Good. Because taking your own things out of a house is not theft. It is inventory correction." I raised my glass. "That sounds like something I would say." "You are contagious." I let them take their shot for 3 days. I answered almost no one. When I did, I said the same calm sentence. Everything I removed from the house was purchased by me, and I have documentation. Most people did not respond after that. The ones who did got even vaguer. Well, I am sure there are 2 sides. Of course there were 2 sides. There was the side with tears, and the side with receipts. The family meeting was my mother's idea. She called it a discussion to resolve this situation, which was classic Nia Brooks. If she named it gently enough, she could pretend it was not an ambush. "Tomorrow at 2, she said, "at the house. We need to talk like adults." "I will be there." The pause on her end told me she had expected resistance. "Good," she said carefully. She thought I was coming to apologize. I packed my iPad, the printed spreadsheet, and a 3-ring binder so thick the spine strained. Then I drove to the house that no longer felt haunted by obligation. They were waiting in the empty living room like a tribunal. Mom sat in Dad's old recliner, centered in the room exactly where I had left it. She had turned it into a throne, which felt so perfect I almost admired her commitment to the symbol. Dad stood beside her with his cane. Talia perched on the windowsill, scrolling through her phone with theatrical boredom. My footsteps echoed on the bare floor. "You came," Mom said. "You asked me to." Dad's mouth tightened. "We demanded it." Then I agreed. That irritated him. Calm always irritates people who came prepared for begging. Mom folded her hands in her lap. "This has gone far enough. You stole from this family. I took what was mine." "Family property," she said. "No." The room went still. I set my bag down, pulled out the binder, and placed it on the floor between us. The sound it made was heavy and satisfying. My property, purchased with my money, documented. Talia looked up from her phone. I opened the binder to the first tab and unlocked my iPad. "Living room," I said. My voice had gone into work mode, not cold exactly, precise. "Sectional sofa, purchased April 2018, $1,200. Credit card statement, delivery receipt, warranty registration in my name." I slid copies across the floor. Mom did not reach for them. "Television, Samsung 65-inch smart TV, $800. Purchased November 2019. Receipt from Best Buy, extended warranty in my name, installation charge also paid by me." Another page. "Area rug. End tables, lamps, coffee table, total for living room items removed, $4,300. Dad shifted. "This is ridiculous." "Kitchen," I continued. I tapped the next tab. "Stand mixer, $350. Food processor, $120. Cookware set, $600. Coffee maker, $150. Microwave, $200. Dishes, glasses, utensils, storage containers, another $480. "We needed those things," Mom said, but her voice had lost the height it entered with. "You needed them. I bought them." Talia's phone lowered into her lap. "Dining room, solid wood table and 6 chairs, $900, delivery fee included. This is the table where you told me there was no room for me on the cruise." Nobody spoke. "Laundry, washer and dryer set, $1,500. Installation, warranty, hoses and delivery, all charged to my card." I turned another page. "Office desk, bookshelf, air purifier, vacuum, steam mop, towels, bedding, curtains." "Talia's white desk." Talia flinched. "That was a gift." "Was it? You asked me to buy it because you were starting a business. You said you would pay me back after your first sales. You never launched the store. You never reminded me. I should not have to invoice my sister for honesty." Her face flushed. I scrolled to the bottom of the spreadsheet and turned the iPad toward them. "Total value of household items I removed, $15,000, $743. My mother's mouth opened. That does not include rent, I said. Dad looked away. $1,200 a month for 96 months. $115,200 paid to live in the smallest bedroom with a tracking app on my phone and an adult curfew whenever Mom felt anxious. You did not have a curfew, Mom said weakly. You called me 6 times after 10 at night if I was out. You cried if I stayed at Simone's. You said Dad's heart could not handle worry. That is a curfew with medical stationery. The room swallowed that. You told people I stole from you, I said. That is false. You told people I abandoned you. Also false. I moved out. I took my own things. I left every item I did not buy. I looked at the old recliner, including that. Dad's jaw worked. We are your parents. And I was your child. That did not stop you from treating me like a backup bank account. Mom's eyes filled, but I had studied those tears for years. They used to move me. Now they looked like weather I could check without going outside. You took my money, my labor, my time, my privacy, and my adulthood, I said. You called it family. You called it being the strong one. You called it understanding, but it was exploitation. That is an ugly word, Dad said. It is an ugly thing. Mom pressed a hand to her chest. So what, you are just done with us? I am done financing you. We never forced you. You made refusal expensive. If I said no, I was selfish. If I asked for repayment, I was greedy. If I wanted to move out, I was abandoning Dad. If Talia wanted something, she was healing. If I needed something, I was dramatic. Talia stared at the floor. The account is closed, I said. Permanently. Dad looked at the binder. You cannot just leave us like this. I already did. I placed the printed spreadsheet on top of the binder. Keep this. If you want to tell people I stole from you, make sure you also show them the receipts. If you want to sue me, speak to a lawyer. I would love a formal setting where documents matter. That ended the meeting, not because they agreed, because they had run out of fog. 3 days later, Talia texted me. Can we talk? Just us? The diner by the beach? I stared at the message for a long time. Part of me wanted to ignore it. Part of me wanted to see whether losing the furniture had taught her anything the cruise never could. So I went. She was already in a booth by the window, wearing a sweatshirt I bought her for Christmas 2 years earlier. Her hair was pulled into a puff, no makeup, eyes tired. For once, she looked less curated and more like a person who had slept badly. Hey, she said. Hey. We ordered. She got avocado toast and an iced latte. I got a turkey club and coffee. The conversation limped. She asked how the apartment was. I said good. She said Mom was upset. I said I knew. She said Dad was stressed. I said Dad had survived stress before, usually by handing it to me. She looked down. I did not know it was that much. You knew it was something. Not the total. The total is just math. The pattern was visible without it. She stirred her latte until the ice clicked against the glass. I know they treat me differently. My fork paused. There it was, the sentence I had waited years to hear. Do you? She nodded, barely. I mean, yeah, Mom worries about me more. Dad is easier on me. You were always the one they trusted. Trusted is an interesting word. You know what I mean. I do. They trusted me to pay. They trusted me to stay. They trusted me to make your life easier. Talia's eyes shone. I did not ask you to do all that. You did not have to. You accepted it. You defended it. You called me bitter when I noticed. She wiped under one eye quickly, embarrassed by the tear. I am sorry. For what? She blinked. What do you mean? For what exactly? Her mouth moved, but no words came. That told me enough. The check arrived on a small black tray and landed between us. Old habit reached for my hand before thought did. I almost picked it up. Almost. Then I looked at Talia. She was already glancing back at her phone, waiting for the ritual to complete. Nia pays. Talia thanks her vaguely. Nobody mentions it again. I picked up the check, calculated my sandwich, coffee, tax, and tip, then placed $18 on the tray. That is mine. Talia looked up.
What?
My share. Yours is about 22. They take cards at the register. She stared at the money like it had insulted her. Are you serious right now? Completely. This is over $20? No, it is over the fact that you expected me to pay. Her face tightened. I am your sister. Then start acting like one. I stood, slinging my bag over my shoulder. Your tab is still on the table. You should handle it before they think you are walking out. I left her there staring at $22 as if it were a mirror. The smear campaign collapsed within a week. Not dramatically, not publicly. Quietly, the way weak structures fail when the supports are removed. When Aunt Charlene texted again, I replied, everything I took was purchased by me. I have receipts and bank records for every item. She responded 12 hours later. I did not know that. Uncle Jerome received the same message. So did the church friend, so did the cousin who had called me destructive. Most people did not ask to see the proof. The fact that I offered it calmly changed their tone. People can smell confidence when it comes from documentation. My mother stopped posting after someone commented, did she really steal it, or did she pay for it? That question did what my pain never could. It made Nia Brooks quiet. 2 weeks later, she called. Your father and I want to apologize. I did not meet them at the house. I chose a cafe downtown, public, neutral, with a parking meter that gave me exactly 1 hour. They arrived looking older than they had during the ambush. Dad's cane seemed less like a prop. Mom's makeup sat heavily under her eyes. We are sorry, Dad said first. I waited. We did not realize how much you were doing. There it was, the almost apology, the kind that made their ignorance the problem instead of their choices. Mom reached for her napkin. We thought you liked helping. You were always so capable. Capable is not the same as available. She swallowed. We should have appreciated you more. You should have stopped taking from me. Dad looked down at his coffee. We were hurt when we came home. I was hurt for 8 years. The espresso machine hissed behind the counter. A couple at the next table laughed softly. Life kept moving around us, indifferent to the fact that my family was trying to renegotiate reality. Mom's voice lowered. What do you want from us? Nothing. She looked startled. Nothing? That is the point. I do not want your money, your approval, your spare bedroom, your emergencies, your explanations, or your guilt. I am not moving back. I am not paying your bills. I am not helping Talia find herself. I am not sharing my location. I am not available for crisis management. Dad rubbed his forehead. We may have to sell the house. Then sell it. Mom flinched as if I had slapped her. How can you say that so coldly? Because you said I could stay home from a cruise and water your fern after paying for your life for 8 years. Neither of them answered. If you want a relationship with me someday, it starts with therapy and honesty. Not because you lost money, not because the family found out, because you understand that love without respect is just control with softer language. Mom cried then. Quietly this time. I felt sadness, but not responsibility. There is a difference. I paid for my coffee and left before the meter expired. 6 weeks later, Malcolm called me into his office again. Close the door. This time, I did not panic. He turned his monitor toward me. The Henderson account system you built saved us 37 hours this month, regional noticed. Good. Good enough that we are creating a senior operations coordinator role. It comes with a team and a significant raise. He slid a paper across the desk, $30,000 more a year. My eyes blurred, not because of the money alone, because I could keep it. Every dollar could go toward my savings, my future, my furniture, my quiet mornings, nobody's cruise, nobody's emergency, nobody's dignity project. I accept, I said. Malcolm smiled, which was rare enough to feel ceremonial. I figured you would. The Harborview unit was temporary, but my independence was not. After 60 days, I found a real apartment 10 minutes from work in a brick building with secure parking and a balcony just big enough for 2 chairs and a row of herbs. I signed the lease with a pen that felt heavier than it should have. When I moved in, I did it slowly. No family committee, no mother deciding the colors, no sister claiming the spare wall for her vision board. The first weekend, I made a rule that nothing entered the apartment because someone else said I needed it. Every purchase had to answer to me. Did I like it? Would I use it? Could I afford it without turning next month into a panic? That sounds basic, unless you have spent years being trained to treat your paycheck as a communal emergency fund. I stood in a home goods store holding a set of blue bowls for 15 full minutes because I liked them and still felt guilty buying them for myself, not because they were expensive. They were not, because nobody else needed them. That was the strangest part of freedom. Need had become the only language I trusted. I had to relearn want. I had to practice choosing dinner without considering whether Dad liked it, lighting a candle without Talia asking to take it, letting laundry wait until Saturday because no one could accuse me of being lazy in a house I funded. I bought a sofa I liked, not the one that matched someone else's curtains. I hung black art from a local gallery. I chose deep green dishes, a walnut bookshelf, linen curtains, and a rug with red and gold woven through it. I bought a new bed and slept diagonally the first night just because nobody could complain. On the kitchen windowsill, I planted basil, rosemary, and thyme. I watered them when they needed water. That felt like a small joke between me and the fern I abandoned. Talia got a retail job at a cosmetics store. My mother mentioned it in a text like it was a national achievement. Talia started work today. Pray she sticks with it. I did not answer. Dad sent a birthday card with $100 inside. I deposited it, then sat with the discomfort of receiving money from him for once. There was no apology in the card, just love, Dad. Progress maybe, not enough to reopen the account. Simone came over one Saturday with takeout and wine. We sat on my new sofa, shoes off, plates balanced on our knees. "Do you regret it?" she asked. "Leaving?" "All of it. The move, the receipts, the recliner throne." I looked around my apartment. The quiet was full but not lonely. The herbs leaned toward the window. My work bag sat by the door. My savings app showed a balance that grew every month instead of disappearing into someone else's shortage. "I regret staying so long," I said. "I regret confusing sacrifice with love. I regret every time I called myself strong when I was really scared to disappoint them." "And leaving?" "Leaving was the cleanest decision I ever made." She raised her glass. "To clean decisions. To paid receipts." We laughed hard enough that I almost spilled wine on the rug I had chosen for myself. The house sold 6 months later. My parents downsized to a condo across town. Smaller mortgage, fewer rooms, less space for denial. My mother told relatives the house was too much after Dad's health scare, which was partly true and partly camouflage. I did not correct her. I had no interest in becoming the historian of their consequences. I drove past it once after the sign came down. A young couple had bought it. They had painted the front door blue and put 2 rocking chairs on the porch. For a second, grief rose in me, unexpected and sharp. Not for the house as it had been, but for the home I kept trying to build there while everyone else treated my effort like plumbing. Useful, hidden, only noticed when it stopped working. Then I kept driving. Some places do not need closure, they need distance. Talia kept the retail job longer than any of us expected. One afternoon, she sent me $22 through a payment app. No note. I knew what it was. The diner. I accepted it. Not as forgiveness, as data. People ask, when they hear pieces of this story, whether I think I was cruel. I do not. Cruel would have been taking what I did not pay for. Cruel would have been lying about them publicly the way they lied about me. Cruel would have been using Dad's health as a weapon to keep him afraid. I took my furniture. I took my documents. I took my location back. I took my mornings, my paycheck, my privacy, my name, my future. Some families will call you selfish the moment you stop being useful. Some parents will call your boundaries betrayal because they preferred you boundaryless. Some siblings will call you bitter because your sacrifice was part of their comfort. Let them call it what they need to call it. The truth does not become theft because the people who benefited from your silence dislike the receipt. Tonight, my apartment is quiet. Not empty. Quiet. There is a difference I had to pay dearly to learn. My herbs are alive on the windowsill. My coffee maker is clean for morning. My spreadsheet is archived, not deleted. My savings account is growing. My career is steady. My phone shows no shared location, no little dot for anyone to follow, no digital leash disguised as care. Sometimes my mother texts. Sometimes Dad sends a careful message about the weather. Sometimes Talia likes an old photo and unlikes it a minute later. I do not chase any of it. If a real relationship grows from honesty someday, I will look at it then, but I no longer confuse access with love. I am not their villain. I am not their emergency fund. I am not the strong one standing in the corner while everyone else boards the ship. I am Nia Brooks, and I finally chose myself. If your family used your responsibility as permission to drain you, would you leave quietly, confront them first, or take every receipt with you? Tell me what you would have done when they came home to that empty living room.